Welcome. This is the Simply King podcast, and it's your boy Rodney Perry King himself, and you just tuned into the Soulfully Conscious podcast for humans simply being humans. And today is a special one. Welcome to 2022 yet again. New year, you know what I'm saying? I've been saying it since I tweeted it. You know, new year, same you, because you're enough. So take that in. You feel me? Take that in. You don't gotta change. You just gotta improve on what's already there sometimes. But I have here with me I have another poet. Oh, I'm having a thing with like writers and poets. It's feel like it's kind of telling me something. Might need to tap in. But nevertheless, I have here with me she earns the right to be called a queen in so many ways. But I have here with me CAU alum, poet, writer, orator, spoken word artist herself, Alyssia McCloud from Vidalia, damn Georgia. How you doing, girl? I love that. I swear I love that.
That's so good, King. So good. And you already know I'm putting on for my city, the good old 912.
Come on now. Cause look. I told myself years ago, my first, if I'm ever fortunate to do a TED Talk, my first TED Talk is gonna be about small towns, like small town mindsets, because I feel like people really discount so much about being from a small town until they really start to really look at the data, really see the people, really understand these magnificent stories of certain individuals who only have a very specific view of the world, but have this so big imagination and be able to affect so many different people, you know. And I think I'm a walking example of it. I think you've definitely been there in your own ways, and so many other people I know who are not from these places that everybody has heard of and everyone is conveyed vacation to. They be shaking the room. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? They be shaking the room.
Yeah, for sure. I think I had a small town mindset that I wasn't comfortable with. I just knew, you know, there has to be something else. There has to be more, you know. So I'm definitely a small town girl at heart. That in spirit, that genuine spirit, love people, that kind of thing. And that's a country girl thing too. But, you know, it just was always something that was calling in me, you know, like I got to see something else at some point, you know. This isn't the end all be all, can't be. But let me get up on that. When you get on the project, just call me and I'll do a little interview with that.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna get some quotes from some great small towners. You feel me? Yeah, I'm with you. I already started writing on the intro, so I got you. But you know what? It is. I said it. Just said it. It is something that's going on in the air because I feel drawn. Like literally, the last 3 people I've spoken about my podcast with have all been writers. And I think it's funny because I think it's only a universal sign to me that I really got to get on my own shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody I spoke to have published already too.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay, so it must be time. It must be the moment for me to really buckle down, because it's like you keep literally engaging with all these different individuals who've already got out of their own ways and published a piece of work. But more about that later. Let's first get into you. And how you been and how you doing and what's going on with you. You know what I'm saying? First, because I remember my first impression of you was because we both met at Clark Atlanta University, the illustrious Clark Atlanta University. And and I remember, I will never forget which, because you weren't Miss CAU first. You ran for Miss Sophomore, right? Or Miss Freshman?
Miss Sophomore,
right? Okay, so, and y'all had to do a talent portion too, right?
Yep, that's correct.
That shit sent me up. I'm talking about, I don't know who was sitting next to me, but I remember just being like, because in my head, I'm like, I just know, because I feel like I already seen you do maybe some spoken word or some poetry or something before the fact. So I was already like, oh, okay, cool. She gonna come in, you know, yeah, cool. I'm just settled in. Like, all right, I know the form that I'm about to receive. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then you blessed my ass real quick. And I'm like, okay, so The tide might be changing in this thing. Like she is talented. You understand? And who knew? But I love that about it, though. I love that you didn't have to wear it in that way. Because I feel like, when you're in a microcosm like college or any type of social setting, it's almost like people expect you to put everything on Front Street, when it's like you can be multifaceted. You can keep things to yourself. You don't have to always keep things in front of you. But I don't know. What was about that choice? Because I don't know if everyone knew that you could sing as well. But it was, I always thought there was something interesting about you. Great continuing impression that you made on me, for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate it. But honestly, I spoke like publicly on campus for the first time in this, like in the campaign setting. Like I didn't get involved with anything political until my spring semester freshman year. So I really was just kind of stepping out. So I think a lot of people thought that I could write or was a poet because of the way that I spoke. I don't know, but really was kind of just figuring it out. But I was dealing with a lot of stuff in my freshman year. So I was kind of struggling through low key. But singing was my thing. Like at home, I sang. I didn't really write my first for real poem till my senior year of college.
Damn.
Yeah, like for real. Like I journal and I, would keep up with like a blog, like just personal stuff. But to really write poetry or try to do spoken word, I didn't do that until senior year. So when I was going from the sophomore, singing was all I knew. That was all I knew to do, Mm-hmm. So take me to the king. It was.
Ooh, you took us there, goddamn. You took us there, golly. Woo. But no, I'm glad you mentioned that about when you started writing. And I think what's interesting is it took me personally a long time to even acknowledge that I was a writer in any form. Until I literally was unpacking and cleaning up my house and was just finding like notebooks after notebooks after notebooks, ones I forgot and ones I could remember, ones that brought back memories of things. And I was like, it was just, all of them were like written in. None of them were like completely filled, but all of them were just written in. And I'm like, damn, like, I guess I always been writing shit down. Mm-hmm. But why have I not ever, categorized myself to be, be this, because I think I always just seen myself to be a person who just had the gift of gab. I can just speak publicly and all this, that, and the third, and that's what my thing is, I didn't think I could. I didn't think I had another form in a specific way, or at least a way that was actually meditated on and like actually like worked to. But I was like, damn, I just might be a motherfucking writer on the low. What was it that moved you to start actually, writing poetry your senior year? You said after your senior year, right?
No, during my senior year. Yeah. Well, that first semester of senior year, I really committed to it because I had been struggling already with being in an abusive relationship, but I was on the cycle of it. Mm-hmm. It comes and it's good for a second, and then I am devastated, and then he's gone, and then we're back, and then so I'm riding that. I have other, I had in the times that we were off, I had other relationships going or connections with people going that were not good, So, and that was kind of like the course of that kind of happened over the course of my years in college, like just always struggling with romantic relationships. Got this fairy tale vision of love and wanted to be loved, but had no idea the extent of my damage. And so that was one thing. And then my family was going through, and I want to say we were being attacked by the government. And my family members, my mom included, had to stand trial for Medicaid fraud.
Man.
Yes. So, and I've never openly, spoken about that. I went through my entire year as a Miss CAU dealing with the fact that my mom literally was on trial for 2 weeks fighting for her freedom. We're talking about 64 counts against her big brother, and then my two aunts, my uncle, who was the CEO of the company, his wife, and my other aunt. So it was my family's business.
Like literally your whole family.
My whole family. And so, that's a whole other thing that, my family is fighting now because of the struggle with our Black Lives Matter movement. Like we matter in so many ways. Like, and you all targeted my family, and then my uncle actually went to prison. He was gone for 5 years. But
oh my God.
I was struggling, or he was sentenced to 5 years. He only had to do 1 and some change before he was right. So it was hard. It was a struggle, and we've always had our faith. Like my faith is the center of my life. So I dealt with that. I was dealing with the relationships. So I'm everywhere, and I just feel like there's turmoil inside of me. Like I'm just struggling. I'm fighting. I'm hurting. I'm angry, and if I did not start to try to get it out of me, out of my body, it was going to consume me, and I knew that. Yeah. So I wrote my first poem about the first things, that were coming to my mind that were hurting me. And before I knew it, I had an idea for like an event, and created like a system. And I challenged my court members to be brave enough to testify to some of their own traumas, just things that they were carrying, and to do it through poetry. And that was the beginning of the Unleashed. I had no idea. I had no idea, but they joined me. We did a whole presentation on campus in November, shortly after my uncle's sentencing. And I was able to present my poetry and perform my poetry for the first time. But I paired my healing to my writing. Ever since that point, just getting it out. Yeah. Hearing it spoken. Yeah. That's the other part of the power in poetry. Speak it. Writing it is the first step, and that's awesome. Yeah. That's liberation in itself. But when you are able to just let loose, put your flavor on it, like, and give it out, like just give it to somebody else, but at the same time, just let it flow out of you. That's a whole other experience. Yeah. And that was my first time. That was why it was my first time. I needed it because it was time to let some stuff go.
I think that's a beautiful thing to point out. The not the act just of writing, but also speaking things out. I didn't understand. I never understood how powerful that is until I started going to therapy myself and realized me saying certain things really is showing how much I'm either this is still affecting me because me saying it, then there's something that happens, like there's a reaction, or the fact that it is something that is very traumatic and I can say it so comfortably. What does that inform whoever I'm speaking to? It can inform that I'm actually healed and have grown past it, or I'm actually getting to a point of like numbness to this thing that I should give more attention to. It's like, hey, you kind of talk about that like that's mad regular. Like you don't talk about it like a triumph. That's something that you got through. You talk about it like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I done seen a lot of death and all that, this, that, and that. I'm like, whoa, bro. Let's not, calm down, but I'm glad that, more of it is happening, and I'm glad that you found that your pathway to heal. And also, it being attached to an art form is something that everyone isn't always blessed to kind of to find. Some people it's just hard, a hard start of a redemption story for whatever it is that you've been through, because it may be something that you've done to yourself, other things that people have done to you, so many different things. But I appreciate you sharing it though, because that's hella perspective, and into like the magnitude in which that you write, I think it's very impactful, and it's very resonating in a way that feels like, damn, I can't help but to feel this. Like I feel something. Like I can't not listen and then just be like, well, it was cool. It's like truly emotion and feeling behind every single thing. And I think it happens with a lot of different artists and creatives where, they really can't touch it without leaving something there, and leaving you with something. Like you definitely write in a way that sticks to you, and that's hell of a talent. Speaking of your writing, speaking of your damn writing, because I got to read this myself. I read this last year and I remember liking it. I read it again today. I was like, yeah, I remember me making a note of this. And it just was great. But to describe the Sunflower Project on your site, and it reads this, and I quote, "The thing I love about poetry is that it is living. I think God favored me to write in a way that if readers would lose themselves in the words, they would be carried by my story to broken spaces within themselves, to their inner garden, where they can sit with their beauty and shower their stretches of sunflower fields with love and acceptance. This book is an extension of my soul. It is the message of how I lost myself and to rediscover myself as unleashed." Woo, girl, this so that was it. That is it. That is it.
I haven't heard anybody else really read some of the stuff that I have written now.
Yeah.
It just took somewhere.
I told you. I look, I already peeped, so I'm just letting you know that it works. It sticks to you right up in here. You know what I'm saying? Right on your rib. But so the Sunflower Project, like, let's start talking about that. What is it that led you to, from writing that, starting to writing, actually like performing your writing, your senior year to, starting this journey of where you realize you need to pivot or start this healing journey for yourself? How did it get to the Sunflower Project?
Yeah, that was honestly accidental. I was writing poetry for me, and then I was still Miss CAU, so I was doing some events on campus. People had asked me to come and speak. And one particular event, it was in the spring semester. So my family was going through, we were dealing, and I'm talking about we ain't have no money, like we got each other, and we still have our faith, and at the time I was just kind of everywhere with mine. I'm like, I felt a little bit abandoned by God. So I'm still writing to try to redirect, like just to feel connected again,
Yeah.
And to tell the story. I felt like my parents, my mom, my uncles, they needed to be heard like that. So, it was just for me at that point. And then I'm collecting things, and I'm on this healing journey, and I'm hearing revelation from God about, how sometimes we have to go through certain things in order to be be refined into who he wants us to be. I'm getting all this stuff, and I continue to write. I'm just writing. writing. And I'll go to this event, and I had gotten to a more stable place within myself, and I'm speaking, and this lady comes up to me. She's telling me, you need to write your story. You need to write your story. And I'm looking at her like, okay, yeah, one day I will. Never thought I could write it in poetry. Never thought that that could even be a thing, and didn't realize that in all the time that I've been pursuing my healing through writing, I was building my story. Like, I'm writing this book. I had no idea it was the Sunflower Project. I didn't even know that, spoken word poetry or free verse poetry could really be, or was really respected like that. Yeah. So I read, my cousin put me on to Raina Biddy. She has like a spoken word album. So I was listening. I was like, oh, this is a thing. Like, I have this. I have this in my phone or in my journals, like all of these poems. And I'm like, oh, there's a whole spoken word world. Let's get into that. So then I started researching and, reading some other stuff. And I'm like going through my journals and my notes. And I'm like, I am writing my story. And this is me. This is how I feel like I should tell it. This is how or what is natural to me whenever it comes to telling it. Tell it in poetry, write the book. Like, you already low-key have the book, put it together, build this structure, and all the other things were God inspired. The title, God inspired, the name, my pen name, but also, the part of my identity. I talked about it being the rebirth whenever in the description that you just read, becoming unleashed, all of that. It just started to fall together. And I was like, before I knew it, I was really holding a book like, yo, and it's just my truth. It's just the account of what transpired in my life that broke me and that also freed me at the same time. And it amazes me still. I'm looking at it right now, so I keep looking off. I got my little stickies in it, but it amazes me. It was accidental. I was only trying to move forward.
Yeah.
And I messed around and gave birth, and I'm like, wow, who knew that this beautiful thing could be born of me? You know, that God could do this thing in me and take something that the pain was unreal in the time. I mean, you're hearing me with a couple years removed now from some of that stuff, and I'm able to speak about it without breaking down. I'm able to speak about it, you know, without losing my breath. But at the same, whenever I was going through it, you know, and you took that thing that devastated me and helped me plant seeds, you know, of power in other people, you know, and that's unexpected. That was an unexpected blessing that came from writing the book and writing the story.
We spoke about the name, but I really want to speak about it in front of the mics as well. What was it that led you to this name? You said it was kind of given to you, and it came out of, you know, really truly just as a revelation. What was it that finally got you to the name? Did the name come early or did the name come late?
It was already in working, but I mean, it was working before I knew that I would have a book in the next year. So me and my shooter, that's my ride or die. We were making vision boards going into 2019. And we were looking for things that spoke to us, right? So I latched onto the sunflower on our little search, right? We built these vision boards. I don't want something that, you know, grabs my attention and makes me feel something. And I want to label that feeling and be able to put that on my vision board. So I'm like, oh, that's so pretty, so big, it's bright. So I'm gonna get this. I want to put this on my vision board. That was the start. Had no idea, you know, that more was coming. So I started researching the sunflower, all these things about the sunflower. And there were certain things that were relevant to me. One being that the sunflower stem is strong. I mean, it's got this big face, right? So the stem of the sunflower is not easily broken, which connected to me to resiliency. And it's the backbone to it, essentially. It holds the flower upright, and it's not easily broken. And then there's the feature that the petals grow on top of each other. The deeper or the closer you get to the core, the more petals that you'll find, they steadily sprout. And that made me think about self-discovery, which is important to me because of my story and me thinking at one point a season in my life, you know, it stops at my abuse, or it stops at my self-harm, or it stops at, you know, the way that I've given up on myself and how I've lost my self-respect and my idea of self-worth. Like, at one point, that was it for me. And that is the thing, you know, that was traumatizing for me. Those were the monsters that were raging in me and attacking me, you know. And to think, I just gotta go deeper. Those aren't the only petals, you know. That's not the only part of my truth. That was another thing that kind of spoke to me. The deeper that I go, the closer I get to my core, I'm going to find other things to love. And there's room and space for these petals to die. The ones that need to die, they will die, you know, and they'll make room for other petals. So it made me think about self-discovery. And the last feature is that the sunflower will turn its face to the sun. If it has grown upward and it is looking away, then it will find a way to, or it tracks the sun. It will turn its face so that it is capturing the light. And I thought that was crazy. First of all, like Little Shop of Horrors crazy. Like the sunflower like turning.
Yeah.
But then when you really think about the power in it, I was like, that is also me. For everything that has hurt me, everything that has tried to disconnect me from God and from the sun.
You get back to the light.
I have always, you know, there's that built-in thing, you know, my spirit that continues to seek him and search for him. Yeah. That despite all the trauma, all the hurt, the times I felt abandoned, all of that, always he's always turning my face back toward him. And I did a photo shoot with sunflowers with one of my friends from high school. And when she sent me back my booklet of all my pictures, this is after, I've had this affinity with the sunflower, pick the sunflower, do the shoot. She sent me back my pictures and she labeled my package, the Sunflower Project. And I said, ooh, heard you, God. There it is. Yeah. There's the title. And boom, there it was. It was just like that.
Yeah.
Just like,
I love how that happens. It's something about, certain metaphors, certain, just symbolism. I'm big on all that. All that. But I think it is something powerful that is, when it comes to the sunflower as a symbol, because thinking about how you can even find nourishment from a sunflower. You can't eat the seeds of every flower. I think that's what another. it's an interesting part of it. So it's like this admirable quality that just from aesthetics, and then you learn more, and then you see, and it's funny because my landlord, she has a garden in the backyard, and she used to grow these sunflowers that literally used to go like 12 feet tall. And always used to outstand every other thing in the garden, no matter what she planted in the past years I've been living here. And they always just stood out, and I just always it's kind of hard not to notice them, And I remember like year after year. I remember the first year, I don't know what she changed, but it was like one of them fell, and then after that it was like they never fell again. It was like they kept, staying up, and it was a real interesting thing, almost like a learning process almost. And I don't know if it was in her methods or just in the seeds or how she cared to it, but nevertheless, just being able to kind of come and take in nature in that way. And then hearing that from you, it definitely made me view those sunflowers in my backyard, last year, before the season kind of changed and it started to get colder, makes you appreciate the things around you and how those things around you can kind of, define and bring the words to the things that you go through and what you represent, so many different things. But it's been a few years. It's been a little bit of time since you've released the Sunflower Project. Tell me about the feedback from people that who have who've read and taken the book in. What have you been told about? What about your words?
Right. So the first part was like amazing. Like, I wish I could have bottled up that feeling. It was humility. It was gratitude. It was just joy and power all mixed together. Hearing so many people reach out to say thank you for being brave enough, or thank you for saying these words that I have never been able to say. Thank you for helping me to open up about my abuse. Thank you for inspiring me to seek out God. Thank you. Like, over and over and over, and just overwhelming response from people in my community and in our Clark Atlanta community, that read it and were taken aback, but were so overwhelmed with gratitude. They were grateful, and it wasn't because I told my story, but it was because I told their story, and that's what I mean when I say that poetry is living. Like, I'm talking about some of my pain, I'm talking about some of my triumph, but you're not reading necessarily about me if you allow yourself to see yourself, And I was hearing from so many people, I was brave. That's what it translated to me. I was brave enough to take that step. I was brave enough to connect with this work, and it touched me in a way that I will never be touched again. Like, so that wrapped me up. Like, and again, I'm still coming out of my abusive relationship. So, to feel validated in a sense, and I wasn't trying to pair my validation to the people and what they were saying, but I had gone so many years not feeling like I was good at nothing, not feeling like I could do anything well.
Mind you, she a queen. She a whole queen. I'm just saying. That's just the impact of it all is what I'm pointing out. You know what I'm saying? That the fact that what you feel about you, you know?
You can be in those positions. I feel worthy.
Yeah.
And that's really a lot of what was going on when I was in college before, you know, the Sunflower Project was born. But, you know, this thing I felt proud of.
Yeah.
And this thing I felt that I had done something good. And it wasn't just good because it was good to me. Other people were healing. And then later there was the community of people outside of, you know, people from my hometown, people from Clark, Atlanta, people that stumbled across it and were ready to receive it. There were like strangers who were able to read the book. And some of them, you know, this was powerful. This was amazing. This was a really good read. It was a surprising read. You know, this is a great debut for an author. And then there were other people like, can't get with it.
Damn, they told you? Okay.
And they put it on my Goodreads profile. It's for me. It's too religious for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's crazy for me because I think now as I'm like transitioning, I'm growing. I'm not ever going to not be the Sunflower Project, but I'm growing in my witness. I'm growing in not another direction, but just to the next level, you know?
Yeah.
I'm hearing the too religious for this world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of grown, I guess, in some other space. But to me, it's just honest, you know? So it is real. And that is what that's what I'm trying to do. That I feel like it was trying
to give your truth.
Exactly. I'm just trying to be real. Like, and so that's been a thing. It's interesting. But it doesn't slow me down. It doesn't make me feel hindered or ashamed or anything. I just am grateful that somebody read it. You know, somebody held it and somebody connected with it.
Yeah.
And somebody said, thank you.
Yeah.
Because of what you said, I'm touched and my heart is a little bit more free. You know, that was the goal. And the other part of it motivates me in my next direction, you know?
I think it's, I appreciate you expressing that. And I think that what's interesting about comprehension these days is how comprehension is so subjective, depending on who you are. Because I think it's funny how people can say things about reading something that feels like it's too much faith or too much religion in it. But Lily, one of my best friends, she just she just finished reading The Alchemist for the first time. And how this book about this story, about this thing that's outside of what a lot of your own beliefs may be, is essentially alluding to. And yes, the allegory is manifestation and believing in yourself and sticking to the plan and staying on your purpose and creating things on your own and so on and so on and so forth. People still read that and can grasp the concept, really truly comprehend what's being said. Some people get caught up in the in the pathway to get to that point sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Which is so funny because it's selective. That's all I'm gonna say. It's very selective. Nevertheless, I think you mentioned something in our first pre-interview several months ago about soul work. And I think what I've learned in the past few years, I think my spirituality has definitely deepened and has changed and has certainly matured in a lot of different ways. Because when you're away from home, you're away from, particular patterns, and you are alone, and you got to find your own ways to tap in, and it not be these things that are already that you can kind of depend on. It's like, well, I go to church with my mom every week, every Wednesday, every Sunday, or I go to my, so I can just save whatever vibes I got for that moment, And then your life changes. It's like, damn, I ain't going to church on Wednesdays like I used to with my moms all the time. I was like, I might be missing every other Sunday now. So it's like, damn, I move entirely, and you never join a new community, whatever it is. How do you stay tapped in? How do you continue to do this this work? You know, and for me, and I don't know about a lot of other people. For me to stop. Connecting faith as this external work, you know, as this thing I need to like go out and go do a thing and blah, blah, and this, that, and the third, even though I do love tangible actions of faith, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know, just praying and meditating and like, you know, giving offerings, all these particular things. I think I like how actionable it is. It feels like I know I did this, and it kind of sends a particular message inside me. But I realized, to have faith is to be inward. You know, to do soul work is to be inward. To have this strong sense of self is you actually complementing your spirituality. But I didn't see it that way for so long because it felt like every single version of religion that was presented to me was so external in so many ways. You know, you had to show up in a particular way. You had to do this in a certain way. You had to dress and be and present in a certain way. And it kind of, you know, made it complex to me, made it too complex to me, because then you start admiring the external way more than you do the internal of yourself and other people. I would love to know, like, you know, in terms of finding a way to infuse that into your work, keep that within your everyday, how has that been? Because I don't know how easy that is for people, you know, in our generation all the time to kind of like discover what soul work is, in your own definition, but to also maintain that. Like, how do you maintain that, you know?
Yeah. That's good. Soul work for me, I'll start right there, is the dissecting and digesting of the Word of God in order that my trauma, my mistakes, my bad habits, my unhealthy thinking is exposed. And therefore, in His face, that we can confront it and therefore work on it together. You know what I'm saying? Soul work is literal work. I think that my relationships had taught me a lot of things, or I keep calling them relationships, but not in the healthy sense of a connection with another human being. Let's not think about it like that, but it was a connection. Right? So I'm actively pursuing these things that are no good for me. I'm actively participating in self-harm. And I don't mean necessarily physically, but still, I mean, it's self-harm. I mean, if it's not self-love, it's self-harm. So if your self-talk is poor and negative, if you're operating in or showing up for a relationship that is not serving you, if you're giving your body to people who are not, well, in God's standard is that you should be married. I ain't married, but I have had situations or been caught up in sexual misconduct, and I don't call it rape. I don't call it that. I have been places where I shouldn't be that led to things that shouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? And then trying to make a habit or make a bad thing okay created a habit. Like, let me keep trying to show up here. Let me make this into a relationship so that it can be good, and that this can be acceptable. It can be acceptable to me, and it can be acceptable for him, and he'll want me, and he'll want. That whole thing was the cycle that I rode when I was in college. Yeah. And you talking about, you know, like not being at home and having the responsibility to be self-disciplined, honestly, to take what your mama gave you or your grandmama gave you or whoever and apply it, because they had done their part with bringing us up in the church. And that was the thing for me and my family. Like my mama, daddy, grandparents, my family base is wide, and everybody, we all worshiped together for years before my uncles became pastors. So I had the foundation, you know. It was up to me to stand on the foundation, but it was tough whenever I was away from their eyes. Same thing, you know. But the things that I picked up, like I said, were hurting me, and I didn't see or wasn't able to recognize at first how the way I was moving and acting was literally giving off, you're damaged, you're hurting, you're sad, you're broken. And I'm just, you know, out here living, having a good time until I wasn't, you know, until I could feel so heavy in myself. And even got to the point, you know, I don't know that I'm worthy of living. Like, it had gotten to that place for me. So my mental health, my emotional wellness, all of that was threatened because of how far I had gotten. So, you know, the writing comes up, and then there's the expression that says, or me expressing myself, and I'm also aware now, you know, healing is mandatory. Healing is mandatory. And then, you know, I see the word of God come to life. Like, you raise a child up in the way that they should go. When they are old, they won't depart from it. I don't know where I was when I was out doing whatever, but I knew how to get myself right on back to truth and to the disciplines that my parents had put into me, you know. And there it began. Like, writing the book was one phase, but I wasn't done healing. I'm not done healing. Yeah. And there, even now in my healing journey, I realized, like, there was so much more to unpack. Pain needed a label. Like, why does this hurt? You know, why are you devastated by this? Why are you triggered by this? Why are you feeling anxious right now because XYZ happened? You know, like, it was there was more to be exposed. But like I said, soul work is just that. I want to pull it up. I want them dead roots up out of me. You know, I want them on the table. I want to surrender that. I want to surrender that habit. I need that gone from me. I want to redefine myself here. I don't want to keep carrying, you know, the ghosts of my past. I don't want to keep holding on to shame. And when you pulling up that kind of stuff, it needs to be addressed. It needs to be dealt with so that it can be put away. You know, it's a part of my story for the time that it was a part of my story, but it doesn't have to define me. And I did not want that to define me, because staying in shame and guilt was going to cost me my life. Essentially, whether it was my spirit dying or literally giving up, staying in that trauma was going to cost me my life. And I think that was also the thing that reignited my faith, because I knew where I was. I knew how low I was. Mm-hmm. But it made no sense that God loved me still. Like, I knew it. I could feel it. I could feel him wanting me still. When I thought I was dirty and I thought that I was trampled on, and I knew people were not treating me with love. Like, people were not careful with me, you know, and I got all this love to give, and I'm so excited, you know, to give myself to somebody. And it had become giving myself to anybody. Yeah. And it felt like nobody wanted me. Yeah. And so I'm catching all this grief, and I'm taking on, you know, the weight of other people and their trauma, because I'm holding it, I'm absorbing it. Mm-hmm. And yet and still, in the heart of all of that, I know God is still calling me. Why do you want me when I don't know what there is to want about me? Mm-hmm. And that, like I said, reignited my faith, because make that make sense, God. Mm-hmm. Make it make sense. If you think that I'm worthy, show me where I'm worthy. Show me why I'm worthy. And in his truth, in the word of God, we start unpacking. We start stripping the labels that my abuser and the other poor relationships those people have put on me. We taking all of that away. We knocking that off, because if the word of God is the truth, then what they have spoken over me has to be a lie, because they don't go together. You know what I'm saying? So that was what my soul work journey looked like, reestablishing my identity and reconnecting with the truth and letting the love of God really take control up inside of me, like, and just nourish me. I just felt so stripped. That's how I felt. And I think people outside and who are still struggling, you know, maybe they just haven't gotten to that low point. But I couldn't continue to gamble.
Yeah.
In the world. You know, I couldn't keep doing it because it was me or the world. Like either I'm gonna be here or I'm gonna be gone. And it was that deep. But it was right there in that lowest place that I'm like feeling the Holy Spirit telling me don't do it. You know, I love you still. Why? And the minute that I could ask why, it was like, and then, you know, and some of my stories even talks about being angry with God. Like, I'm mad. I'm so mad with you. And yet you still calling, like you still wanting me. Like, what is that? What is that? You know? And so, I don't know, I want to be able to write and speak or whatever so that people don't have to go to that low place to know God loves you. And there's so much to get from him and so much to feel with him, you know, that, you know, they don't have to get all the way there before they ask the question why. But I don't know, I'm not sure what made the world attractive to me other than I was looking for love without looking at love. You know, I think that people are hungry for something. And the minute that we get a little bit of freedom, we just go on a frenzied search, you know, trying to find it, whatever it is. And we want it to serve us and we want it to be immediate. And the truth of that is that's not how God works. So maybe, you know, we got all these things that would suggest there are holes inside of us that he needs to fill, but we're looking for other things to fill them. That was me. Yeah. That was me.
Whew. I think I appreciate you for expressing that and breaking that down for us, because I think to be given and show yourself grace is like supreme perspective, you know? I think a lot of people don't understand how powerful that is as an action that you feel from, you know, from a higher power, or, you know, truly and adopt into your own self-treatment of understanding like, well, shit, you know, if the one above me can give me this much grace, then I have to emulate that, you know? And I think because it's perspective. I think so often we can bury ourselves into the shadows that we possess, the baggage that we carry, the scars that we can still see, the feelings that are still there, the presence of certain things. And we allow that to be the definitions of who we are. And the reality of it is, it's like, no, you right here, right now, a little hungry, you know what I'm saying, a little bloated, you know what I'm saying? Somebody still want to know how you doing. People still care for you. And you are the person who has all these things, has all this energy kind of coming your way that's positive, that's light. And you trying your best to make that dim, you know? Having grace and perspective, having grace is really having the perspective of knowing, like, regardless of the state that you're in, that you that is it's your space respectfully for a moment in time, and it's not your all, it's not everything that you are, you know. And I think that's the part that kind of, you know, really messes a lot of people up. It's because it feels so self-defining. These negative pivotal moments feel so self-defining because it's like, well, shit, I mean, well, you know, it depending on what it is, it could be, you know, the loss of parents. It could be the loss of opportunity. It could be the loss of It could be not even the loss, the never gaining a particular thing. You've tried and tried and tried, and it feels like you never have finally gotten the thing you always worked towards. It's like, that's just who I am, I guess. I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm an orphan. I'm a person who just can't figure it out, can't get right. All these other things is what you kind of people define themselves to their lows, to their lacks, to their what they really wouldn't rather be defined as, because it makes them more comfortable to kind of always put that on Front Street. It's like, I'm all right, I'm cool, I'm working, I'm whatever, and it's like, nah, you good, you decent, you're becoming. No one likes to pick those transitional things, or those things that are just what they are, claiming what it is. And it's a beautiful thing to finally get out your own way. But I think it does take the practice of grace. Takes the practice of like having perspective on who you are and what you are. For me, honestly, once I discovered what my shadow was and just what that work was from a psychological and a spiritual aspect, I kind of realized like, oh, so I've been over here trying to banish these negative parts of me. Like entirely, like let's just clean house. So I don't want this shit to even be around me in any way, shape, or form. Instead of trying to find the understanding of, of why I'm holding on to those particular things, and why I'm defining them to be the banes of my existence. And it transformed my definition of negativity, why that is a polarity that we even have in this world, Imagine if only good was around. How could we know what's good, But also understanding that neutral is a place you can be in. That can be a space where you're just numb, where feelings are up and down. I think it helped me understand so many different things. And I feel like more and more and more people, especially within our age range and within our generation, have to find their way to it in whatever way that makes sense. Because I'm a firm believer that, no matter the faith that you choose, no matter the spirituality that you align with, the practices that you cling to, that ultimately you are the common denominator, no matter what those things are. And so no matter what your faith is, if you aren't treating yourself well within it or attached to it, then what's the point, You're not really fulfilling everything that you say you want to fulfill if you align with this thing. If you call yourself a Christian, you call yourself a Muslim, you call yourself a Buddhist or whatever it may be. It's how well are you treating you, because you are the person who's supposed to have a relationship to this higher source that you believe in. But if the only one-way track of love is coming from down up and not, inside out and up, then what's the point? But I love that though. In terms of like these days of, because I feel like maybe it was when we was younger, because I remember, I don't know how it is now, but I remember when we were younger, I feel like throughout the like 90s and the early 2000s, it felt like every single church had the same like get back to the youth type of initiative. we gotta figure out how to connect to the youth. Let's play that Kirk Franklin song again. Let's do some dancing. Let's let them do something that they want to do. We need a kids night. We need a sit like a what was them things called? We spent the night at church. I forgot what it was called.
A lock-in?
We need a lock-in. They need things to do in the church of God, that type of vibe. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, I'm not sure what churches are on, because I feel like church is starting to get young in a way. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole lot of iPad pastors, and I ain't gonna hold you. I don't like it all the time. That's how I realized. I was like, oh, I might be the reason. Because I was just like, because it just be so, I was like, damn, this dude got Yeezys on and like some ripped jeans. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of used to somebody with some pant legs like this wide. They wear they watch with the face right here, and they be looking at it while they preaching. I'm used to that. Sweat, baldness, shortness, oldness. That's what I'm used to, and there's folks out here with a taper cut, with you know what I'm saying, with the sponge. You can tell they got hit with the sponge with some tight clothes on and the new Yeezys. It's like, I don't know how I feel about this, but what is it that you've noticed about, good examples of how people have, kept to their faith and kept from in our generation, especially because a lot of people aren't going to church. A lot of people are, resorting to digital church, whatever ways they're doing it. Like how have you seen, and how do you, I guess, suggest to anybody who wants to kind of tap back in? How have you seen the whole scape of just millennials and their overall religious and spiritual practices?
Yeah. I would say first, I low key, I appreciate it's not even, I don't want to call it a transformation, because I feel like that's like saying that the heart of church is different. Yeah. But things are changing. And I think that there's a responsibility on millennials to say yes to what God is telling them to do, because there are things in like traditional church that I feel like that I know were more religious than they were Bible based or spirit led, that I think, it's coming to light now. Like there are, millennials, we ain't standing for no whole bunch of mess. What I'm saying?
Yeah. We'll burn down anything at this point. I think we should. Yeah, we done showed it. We'll burn down whatever. Target too, and we love Target.
Millennial leaders in the church, like for me, for my story, I'm talking about sexual misconduct. I'm talking about sexual abuse. I'm talking about having to rediscover like love for my body and and learn how to respect my body. Like, and typically when you go into a church service, you're not hearing people talk about sexual misconduct. I mean, it's not necessarily the basis of a sermon. That's not necessarily. However, does it need to be spoken about? Does what God has to say about my body and how he has entrusted me as a steward of my body, does that not have to be spoken? And then for me, for Alyssia, like I have heard, some people, when I did my book launch, there's I didn't think you should be wearing that, then like I was telling you before, like people who not believers who read in the Sunflower Project got an issue with the Sunflower Project because it's too religious. So I'm like, okay, I'm too religious for the worldly folk, and then I'm too whatever I am for the church folk. But my attitude toward that is that ain't nobody's job to convict me but the Lord. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if God is calling me to represent a certain body in a way that that he is heard and that he gets glory, then I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I have learned, because I'm old church too. Like I grew up Baptist, so yeah, me too. It's a certain way that we did stuff. You know what I'm saying? Growing up like that, all the years, and even now, there's still a certain way that my church does stuff. But I want to be obedient with my mission. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to be myself. You're not gonna catch me in nobody's pulpit. And I mean, I'll wear me some suits now, but I'm not gonna be dressing like the deaconesses because that's not me. I'm 26. You feel me? Like,
you gonna have a hat on.
I'm not doing that. And the fascinator too, because some of them still wear the fascinators.
Yeah, they do. They look. Why go out? Look, they got hat boxes. Why put them to use? Got to put them to use.
I think that there is a place for these new. I don't want to even call it new. I think people just trying to be real. That's really how they want to show up. Really, what I feel is the heart of it, that they want to be real, because that's my heart. I just want to tell y'all about Jesus as I know him. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to lie to nobody. I'm not trying to tell you that my way is the way. I'm correcting or putting what I have done next to truth in everything that I do. next to the word, everything that I do.
Yeah.
His word gonna stand. You know what I'm saying? If you can get past me having dreads and long lashes, and normally my nails done too, you know what I'm saying? If you can get past that and hear me, then I think you'll have heard something that you need. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I think the point that I'm making is that I think that it is a millennial responsibility at this point to be bold enough and brave enough to represent God in the way that he is asking us to represent him. And there are a lot of people who in the middle. You know, I say it all the time. My story, I don't know if it's for the stoutly religious. I don't know that, because those people super saved, they might not need the Sunflower Project. You know what I'm saying? But that one girl or that one young boy who is on the fence, who don't feel like they fit in the church because they don't have a look, you know what I'm saying? Or who don't feel like God loves them because of the things that they have done or the things that they have allowed. That's my story. You know what I'm saying? And if they not trying to hear me because or if other people are not trying to hear me because of that being my story, then it just wasn't for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I gotta say yes to what I feel like God is leading me to do. And I think every millennial has that kind of a mission, because we ain't standing for that old stuff. Certain stuff that was taboos in the church before, we have to talk about. We're not going to talk about it. How are we going to learn about it? We're not going to get the Christian's perspective if the church ain't talking about it. And we got a lot to say. We mean the millennials.
Yeah. Hey.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
know what I'm saying? And you ain't finna catch us in what you call them? What kind of pant leg? As soon as you said that, I was thinking about my granddad.
Yeah, that wide. That thing be about that wide. You know what I'm saying? It be that wide. A good shoe. You know what I'm saying? The face of their watch be right there. And they say things. Yeah, the big glasses. They be thick too. They be sweating. They got their towel. They got their towel ready.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when they really feeling it, they might stutter a little bit. You know?
And you don't get the hoop at the end now. I'm gonna tell you.
Shoot ya. And the fact of the matter, I'm like, okay, go crazy. Go crazy then.
Okay, go done with it.
Yeah.
But, you know, all that from home church, and when we was that church that we experienced coming up, I still love and appreciate.
Yeah.
Me
too.
My mission is my mission, you know, and I know that God will provide the audience, because Jesus didn't come to save the saved. You know what I'm saying? He was eating with the sinners. He was dining with the sinners. He was looking for the sinners, looking for people who needed to hear the truth. And I feel like as long as it's the truth, I don't really care what you wearing. Make sure it's the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the place that I've come to because of my own responsibility with my witness.
Yeah.
I really don't want to hear it. You know, if the Lord ain't convicting me on my dress, why we talking about my dress? Did you hear the message?
Yeah, did you get it? You get all that? Yeah, did you get all that?
For where I am today, but I believe in conviction. So should the Lord direct me in another way, then I'm going whatever way he tell me. It's truth first to me.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah.
No, I feel that. And I do catch what I catch. I do catch a lot of the things, because you know they high tech now. They be reposting the things. You know what I'm saying? And Jawanza love him some Sarah Jakes. He love him some hustle. I always get a good dose of her. But I do appreciate that though. I do appreciate the some of the younger kind of faith leaders in various denominations. Kind of jumping out and being those people who are those voices, giving those perspectives, because it's like, somebody who is, in their 60s and 70s at this point, not saying that they can't still resonate, they gifted in that way and blessed and anointed in that way, but it's like, it does feel good for somebody to have the context of like, social media do make me feel away. You know what I'm saying? Or like, you don't really understand like why this is like a particular, very specific generational problem in terms of relationship, in terms of how we communicate. Because it's just, you didn't communicate in the same way, And I think that's, that's what makes so many things so defining and so specific to a group. Because it's like, right. I can't go to my mom's. If I have a problem that began and occurred all on social media, I can't go to my mom and be like, hey, what did you do when you went through this at 20-something? You know what I'm saying? Like, how'd you handle right. this little virtual scuffle that you're going through, this virtual argument? Which, you know what I'm saying? You can, it's okay though. It's okay that they don't have an exact antidote for it, but nevertheless, it feels good when somebody really understands.
Yeah. I think it's challenging other people. There was a great reference with parents because my mama taught me early how to handle social media. She was not playing. You know what I'm saying? She had to get with it as my parent. Yeah. Because the times were changing, which you expect the same for the church. Times are changing.
Times are changing.
How are we going to find, those who we have not yet touched?
True. Act like you know. But my last question to you is, before we can go and send this thing on, is what is the goal? What is the goal? And I think you've spoken so much to it, but if you could just put it in one singular sentence, because you are a writer, so I'm gonna challenge you. What is the goal with your work? What is it that you really want to do with everything that you continue to do?
I want to inspire the healing. I want to influence connection. I want to liberate. I want to lead people to their unleashing.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good branding too. I like that. That's my type of carrying on. I like that. Okay. So let me see. This should. Let me get my music going. So my send it on portion to my episode is my call to action. Give the people a little something to do. You feel me? And the call to action that I have this week is how you can start the work. You know what I'm saying? How you can really start the work. The work, in my mind, in very quickly digestible terms, being really just this self-work, this inner work, this and that can be faith-based, that can be psychological, that can be in so many different ways, just improving on you. We're in a whole new year, and everybody has this, theme of, to be resolute and be goal-oriented at the beginning of the year, but some people find themselves running out of gas so fast because they've fixed them into very either superficial things that can't really be sustainable. I would love for you to give the people how they could just start to do the work, Let them know. And from your perspective, how do you start? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from your perspective, how would you say people can just start the work?
Oh, look at me. I would say you start by making the effort to see yourself. That would require a pause. That would require a slowdown, really look. My slowdown was almost God forced because I was not trying to slow down. Like, I don't want to. I'm trying to find this new job. I want to move to this new place. I want to, see my life go forward, and I'm desperate for that. And then boom, a pandemic happens. You can't, you have to stop. And then I can't find another job. Okay, now I got lots of time on my hands. So before God has to intervene, I would say make time to look at yourself, right? Make time to look at yourself. What are you hungry for? Ask the questions. Do I trust myself? How am I showing myself love? How do I show myself kindness? If you can answer the questions and be sure, like I'm doing this and this is my answer and I'm solid on that, you may be in a good place. But if you are like, am I able to say that I trust myself? Am I able to say that I love myself? And how do I if you're struggling with it, I think we start there. I mean, take the time to do a survey of self and then ask the healthy questions, or the questions that would suggest that you're healthy. And if you can't give the answer, or you're not satisfied with the answer, then you know you need to slide down that path, feed into that. Get the answers that you want on paper for the next time you check in.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a beautiful send it on. That's a great way to wrap this thing on up. So, so before you go, make sure you tell everybody how they can, support you. Go get the Sunflower Project. And just look out for everything else that you have going on. Let us know what we need to. How can we keep up now with Unleashed? You feel me? We trying to get out here our damn self.
Well, the Sunflower Project is available on Amazon. The Sunflower Project by Unleashed, and be looking for book number 2. And I'm gonna go ahead and plug the name because it is in the works.
Hey.
Book number 2 is consumed
okay,
by Unleashed, and I'm looking at being able to release that end of 2022.
Okay,
or spring. I was going to say spring semester, or the first few months of 2023. But it is cooking, and it is intense. But I think it's necessary. I think it is exactly it's the sister project to the Sunflower Project, but it is as Unleashed. What happened next? I feel like I became unleashed and realized the worth and value in the Sunflower Project, but we weren't done healing. So there's a whole other part of the story to be told, and it will be coming out soon. So Sunflower Project on Amazon.com.
I love it. I love it. Make sure you go out there. How did you give them your socials?
Oh, IG, Twitter, and TikTok. You can find me at I Am Unleashed. YouTube, my @ name is Lysh, Lysh, and Unleashed is UNLYSHED.
Yeah. You can also find that in the description of this particular podcast episode, no matter where you're listening or watching. I want to thank you for giving me your time, for us making this happen. I really, truly appreciate the perspective, the standing up with your art, standing up with your creativity, and still just being multifaceted and amazing. You know what I'm saying? I still see you as take me to the king. I ain't gonna never not see you as that. I'm gonna always be amazed. I'm gonna always just...
It's her.
I can't believe this. Because the first impression was enough. The first impression was charming enough. The voice, the Vidalia-ness of it all, and just being warm. I think that was enough to already enjoy you as a being in this same space. So to know that you also have gifts and are willing to use those in service for other people and to yourself is something that is commendable and beautiful. And I appreciate you for it, first off. And I appreciate you just giving us a little piece, you know what I'm saying, over here at Simply King, you understand? But make sure that you follow. If you don't know, you should know. You can follow the Simply King podcast everywhere. Everywhere podcasts are available. Make sure you like, rate, and subscribe. And make sure that you share, because I make family-sized content. You be mad as hell if you sat there and ate that whole bag of chips by your damn self. Give them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Share a little bit of it. So I appreciate you. You can follow the podcast at the Simply King Pod on IG, and go and like the Facebook page on Facebook at the Simply King Podcast. You can follow my personal page at Kings_Memoirs, where you can find so much content, certainly pivoting this year to make more content about just Black wellness and just seeing a Black man evolve. And I'm trying to capture it all, and hope y'all join me on the ride. Also, follow my business page at Life is King on IG for any digital marketing or creative production services. You can go to the site at the same name, lifeisking.com, and check all those things out, details and all things. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. This has been the Soulfully Conscious Podcast for Humans, Simply Being Humans. This has been Unleashed, also known as Alyssia McCloud. And I've been Rodney Perry, and this has been Simply King. Peace.